Welcome to another episode, indeed episode 5 of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. And I missed you last week, Sam. I'm back. Did you have a good time in London?
Yeah, it was great down there. It was a great sat with Suey and Mr. Jordan. So it was really, really good. Really, a really good afternoon, and yeah, it was well worth it. I thought it went down exceptionally well, and some of the questions and some of the answers that were on the panel, I don't think you could have got better. I know that sounds like blowing me on trumpet, but certainly the combination, and I love the banter, because obviously Graham has joined TalkSport and gets well. Do they get on or don't they? I'm not sure. I'm sure they do. Off air, definitely they get on. But the debates that they had, then I was sitting listening to them saying, he's right. No, I'm right. No, he's right. No, I'm right. No, he's right. No, I'm right. And I thought, well, you know, in the end, they didn't come to blows, but they tended to agree, not to agree. They all both stuck to their own opinion, like me. So it was quite funny. I did make a contribution now and again, though.
Yeah. Of course you did, always.
Yeah, always, yeah.
Well, we've come back up north today and we've made our guest travel for hours and hours today, to be honest. I think it's incredible that he's come up.
I absolutely appreciate it. Absolutely fantastic.
So when you're flicking through your black book, why did you think this guy would be a great guest for us?
Well, everybody knows Ian Holloway. And why he's a great guest is he's not just what he's done as a manager and what he's reading his career, but his entertainment value on interviews has always been outstanding. There's always been something we've all looked forward to. What story is he gonna come up with today? You know, so yes, you know, and I think that that's a character for you. And I mean, sadly, I think our life, because of the problems we face now, we lack sometimes a bit of character in us managers, players, coaches now, because we feel a little suppressed and a little bit more worried about what people might say. But certainly, Ian over the years has been great manager. Great player, great entertainer.
Yeah, so our guest today on No Tippy Tappy Football is Ian Holloway. Hi, and thank you so much because you've travelled since about 5 a.m. this morning to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Well, I was sat on a train, which is a joy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? The thing is, I'm with my own thoughts then, and because you don't really talk to anyone on a train, so I was looking at eBay, to be fair. Honestly.
Did you buy anything?
No, I was looking at a table like this. You know, honestly, it's beautiful. It is so posh in here. Honestly, my wife would love it. It's gorgeous, real nice, and loads of plants. We got 250 house plants at home. I thought I saw Harry Redknapp in there the other day. Get out!
And do you have to water them?
No, my wife does. She's got a little book on them. Honestly, Sam,
really?
I love it, but you know, when you're trying to sit on the toilet, there's still one in your face. It's just not right.
I feel like there's another podcast coming here. Ian Holloway does houseplants.
Could be, yeah. Well, after you told me how you're butchering yours.
Yes, I am. I'm going to get some tips. I need this. You and your wife can tell us all about it.
I'll get you Kim's number and she'll sort you out.
Much appreciated. I always like to start our episodes by asking the guest, how do you know Sam?
My first meeting with the big man was completely by accident. I kicked the bottom of his foot. I was playing for Torquay on loan. He was playing for Preston. And I got there as quick as I could. It was a little bit late again. And luckily for Sam, he'd cleared it. And I booted his stud. And just literally snapped me big toe.
Ooh.
And he went, "Are you all right?" And I went, "No." It was like he was made of granite. Do you know what I mean? That's my first meeting. And obviously a bit later on, I was Bristol Rovers manager and he was at Bolton. He was Notts County, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we just won, and he had a smile from ear to ear. He was just going to Bolton.
Yeah.
So he cracked open and said, "Come on, son, have some, because I'm going." And I thought, you lucky bugger.
Yeah.
Right? And then after that, to see him and what he did at Bolton is just legendary. This is what I don't get about football and football management. And people don't get the right amount of credit, you know? So, big man, love it. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, my friend Lucy's a Bolton fan, Sam, and she's never been more impressed with me in my whole life. The fact that I get to sit next to you to do this. Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't got a statue to you there, Sam.
Well, sadly enough, they don't. Yeah, because I left, Ian. Because I left. It's rather sad. This, because I left under my terms. As we well know, most of the time we leave under the owner's terms. Because I left under my terms, it sort of got ripped out my legacy, if you like. But the fans will never forget.
Yeah,
never.
Oh.
But the club doesn't really appreciate what I've done nearly. Not, but that's quite sad. But I love going back when I get the chance, and the fans still. And I live in Bolton, as you well know. So when I still go around town and the fans come along, I mean, the appreciation you get from people now, and I mean, it's 2007 when I left.
Mate, what I can't get over is you brought over some absolutely outstanding footballers who inspired us all to try and believe that we could be like that, Yeah. Wow, gorgeous to watch, mate.
Well, I don't know quite now how I did it sometimes. I used to pinch myself and go, but I think it's that, I mean, what's really important is the first one. And I think the first one, while we had a few foreigners before that, the one, Yuri Yorkaev was the big one. Was this man was a World Cup winner, a European Cup winner, and Italian Champions League, and I found he just wanted to come and play football, to experience the Premier League, but it also gave him the opportunity because he'd been bombed out at Kaiserslautern in Germany, and he needed to play first team football to get in the French squad for the World Cup that year. So it wasn't about, for him really, it wasn't about Bolton. It was anybody who could play me in the first team.
Yeah.
And of course, he kept us up. He helped us stay up for the first year in the Premier League. Went off to the World Cup, and this is when we knew we'd got something. Not me, but we'd built something. When he finished the World Cup, he rang up and said, "Can I come back?" And came back for 3 years. And that was the start of the Kochas, the Nelkas, the Yorkaevs, the Yeros, all those wonderful players, which changed the whole concept of how we played. We were a bit rough early doors, but then at the end, we were a quality side.
I'm going to have to explain this to Nat because you're far too young to know about these players, aren't you?
He's smooth, isn't he? Oh, he's smooth. I knew he'd have some good lines. All right,
come on, Sam.
Even Stalios Yanakopoulos, who it took me about a month to remember how to pronounce that name.
You done well there. You can't say that from here.
And he came from Greece, and he won the Euros when he was at Bolton. And I always remember him being interviewed, and he had his son with him being interviewed, and he had a Bolton Wanderers shirt on his son, and he still lives in Bolton. So I think that says what we had.
Yeah.
When a lot of players still live in the area who came from abroad like me.
Well, those fans will never, ever forget that, Sam.
No,
They'll never forget
period.
you. In terms of management, have you guys managed against each other many times in many games? And if so, what's it like on the touchline?
I remember the last one when I was at West Ham. I think the last one when he was shouting at me about one of my players.
He just stabbed me in the heart, didn't he? Did he tell you to ask this question?
No. Where were you then? West Ham, Blackpool, yeah. Oh God,
Don't go there.
I shouldn't mention that.
Is this the playoff final?
Well, no, it was before the playoff final.
No, it was the final. For me, the final.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that was the last time. Yeah.
That was the last one.
I'll tell you what, that was hard.
No, first half you slaughtered us.
I know.
You'd only 1-0 up. We come out, get an equaliser, and we should have scored. Poor old Alex Baptiste, I don't know what he was thinking. Centre half could have lobbed the goal, he didn't. And then all of a sudden, Vazte, with about 4 minutes to go, blatant foul by Colton Cole. No, but he did us on our weakness point. They'd gone over the top on that big diagonal, crossed it, and my centre half got wiped out, and there was Vazte. It absolutely broke my heart. But to be honest, I stood there, shook his hand, and I was probably shouting at him. But
Was he shouting at you?
I watched you lot pick the trophy up.
We shout at each other a bit on the touchline sometimes, you know what I mean?
But what impressed me the most, because the pressure you must have been under to get West Ham back up was scary. And I wanted to ask you, you always had this air of confidence. It wasn't arrogance, it was confidence that no matter how it was going, you were going to get it. I've never had that, How did you manage to... Because for me, you got them up. They were in terrible trouble when you took over.
Yeah.
How did you do that, mate?
Well, I think that you get stuck in straight away, and you find out. I mean, we had some terrible trouble early doors with Scott Parker and people like that who wanted to get away, and we don't want to play down in the Championship, and I said, well, the reason you're in the Championship because of you. and the rest of the players. You know, how else are you in the Championship? It's not you get the manager.
That's what I'm on about.
I mean, you get the manager the sack, like you mean, and then you think you tell him it's his fault. It's your fault. You're on the pitch. Like I mean, I said, so you know, so I understand because he knew Tottenham had tapped him up. You know what I mean? So I can get all that, but we changed a huge amount of players. I thought it would take 2 seasons because we changed 18 players that season, first season, and we brought 12 in, and a lot of the lads we brought in had Premier League experience and were dropping down, like you mean, and that would Kevin Nolan was the biggest signing because Kevin's my man.
Yeah,
Kevin could control the dressing room for me.
yeah,
and make him captain, which would disappoint Mark Noble a touch, but you know, Nobby got on great with him, and that was the start of it, and then we got on that. We only lost, I think, 4 games in the entire season, but still didn't make it.
Yeah,
but Vastey was it's about talking to the owners again. So we were short of goals, and we signed Vastey from Barnsley, who nobody knew about, only me, because he'd been at Bolton with me as a youngster from Portugal. It was only 500,000 and he scored 11.
Yeah. In that
and the best one was the
but I
the
never
last
forget
one
he
at
pulled
Wembley,
his shirt up and I thought, wow, do you know what I mean? No, and I didn't fancy him, nothing like that. I just thought, my God, that fella is ripped, you know, and I know he ripped our heart out, and I know he should have been booked for taking his shirt off like that, but fair play, do you know what I mean? To know of somebody that you can drag and take to your club that can get you those goals, that's what I'm saying, I think.
Well, I'd done the playoff final with Bolton at Cardiff, but it was nothing to match Wembley.
No.
The noise, you couldn't hear yourself think, you know, it was that loud that day. But as in terms of nerves, it was like the duck looks calm on the water, but underneath his legs are going 10 to the dozen. So certainly that game was a bit like that, like I mean. But you have to make them big hard decisions on the touchline. That's what I found one of the key areas to expand on in the early days.
Well, we've got a lot of World Cup stuff to chat about, but before we do, there's 2 big things that have happened in the world of football, unrelated to the World Cup, that I wanted to get both of your opinions on. And the first of those is Cristiano Ronaldo. So it has been announced by Manchester United that he is leaving the club with immediate effect. They're saying it's mutual. They're saying it's a mutual decision. Sam, what did you first of all make of his interview? And if you were Erik ten Hag, how would you have been feeling if seeing your player sat there doing that?
Well, I've said this before he gave the interview, and I said this before that it's the board that makes a manager's life almost impossible to do the job correctly. And even though as a new manager that's come from Holland, he's at his most powerful when he arrives at the football club. And they've got to go with his decisions. And if his decision early doors, when Cristiano Ronaldo said that he wants to leave, he goes to the board and says, right, go, move him. Yeah, whatever, or however it takes, move this problem, because this is a massive, massive, massive problem because of the history of Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United with Sir Alex, because of what he's done. So it would be wise that they move him as quickly as possible for the benefit of the new manager, who has to take preference over even a Cristiano Ronaldo, and should always. And that didn't happen. And everybody says, well, why did he say he wanted him to stay? Well, no new manager is going to come in and sit down and go, the press conference, I want to get rid of Cristiano Ronaldo. You just don't do it. He scored 18 goals last year. You're just not going to do it. And of course, he got dropped by his own poor performances, and Man United's in general. But you know, his contribution wasn't. I think he started him in the first 2 games, and his contribution wasn't good enough. And a man like that. I mean, I remember having to sit down with Yuri and JJ Koch and say your time's up at Bolton Wanderers, and it's how you choose to do that. Well, for me, I was in charge, the board would listen to me and let me go and do that.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think that Man United, it's that easy.
The worst thing you could ever have is, whether the player's popular or not, is a player at your club who doesn't want to be there. Because the rest of the players are looking at him, and it's a negativity. And if you're the new manager coming in and they're not listening to you, you should be seriously looking at yourself thinking, have I got the right club here? You know? And it shouldn't be about the business side of it, but it always is. And all I'm saying to Mr. Ten Hag, if you're going to tell him that against Man City, I'm not going to put you on, it would be embarrassing for you. We're getting drubbed and I want to do something else. And then you put him on with 3 minutes to go in the next game. Don't lie to him. That's terrible mistake. Why don't you tell him, I didn't want you and I don't want you, get out. Right? So if it isn't, and if it's not him doing it, I'm saying, I watched Cristiano's every word the other night, and I gave him a round of applause, because he's actually bigger than Manchester United, and they should have let him go. Do you know what I mean? He's earned the right to do whatever he wants now, and I'm afraid it's ended up a bit sour.
Whether he's right or wrong on what he's done and what he said, he got and manipulated the system around once, which is fine by him. But you'll never take away the fact that this is the most dedicated footballer
In the world. Absolutely.
And I think every youngster should watch his film from where he started.
Exactly.
And he left home, I think it was 12, from Madeira, I think it was Madeira Island, wasn't it? And went over to Portugal. But his dedication on and off the field, and his training at home when he's at home on his own, his diet, his qualities, in every aspect of a footballer, he has maximised.
Absolutely.
What I mean, so everybody said, well, Messi's much better, and Ronaldo's more manufactured. Well, yes, probably, but the areas he improved his game in every aspect of his game, strength, physical attributes. I mean, some of his heading ability,
incredible,
and everybody forgets that. Well, it's a bit like Messi. Neither of them were centre forwards. Because at Manchester United he was wide right or wide left, and Messi's just been off the front line all his life. So these two competing together every year, it has been a blessing for the world of football, because they've been doing it. They've been doing it for about 12 years, haven't they? You know what I mean? Where they score 40 goals, 38 goals, and who's in the Ballon d'Or? Messi, Ronaldo. Ballon d'Or, Messi, Ronaldo. There was nobody else, was there? So whatever. It might not have ended well at Manchester United, but he's, as a professional footballer and a role model for every youngster, he's definitely that.
I found that really interesting, that both of you saying that, and I'm also slightly surprised, if I'm being honest, as well, because I know what you're saying about that, Sam, but I think it's not an example for youngsters to refuse to come on when your manager wants you to go on.
No. Well, when you've seen his interview,
okay,
what his manager told him behind closed doors the week before, when he was hungry to come on, or 2 weeks before, against the enemy who he might have signed for, right? Because he was close to signing for Man City. Yeah. So Sir Alec got him to round with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's openly admitted this in his interview the other day, right? What he's saying is, I wasn't respected in a way. And we know that you have to tell
absolutely
your players not what they want to hear, what they need to hear. And you can't sugarcoat it. You need brutal honesty, and then they'll follow you through a brick wall. I don't believe that's how Cristiano has been treated, particularly when he loses one of his twins, and then the other twin who survived then gets bronchitis and he doesn't want to go to pre-season. I mean, that should be a given. Stay
absolutely,
there.
stay there. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He actually stated that he felt some of the big wigs at the club didn't believe him. I mean, come on. That's heartbreaking for me. Because we all know, right, with COVID and what, football is more important than anything else in the world. Really, I'm not sure. We're an entertainment business, so your family is. And if you've lost a young one and you're the other ones, you got to be there with your wife and family. And I'm sorry, happy days, young man. So proud of you, right? I think you've made some mistakes, but hopefully they should have let you go and you need to go on. And let's hope you get whatever it is you want because you deserve it. Honestly, he is outstanding in every other aspect. He's made a little bit, but he's human.
What do you make of him saying, though, that he doesn't respect the manager while he is still a player for that manager? Should he have said that publicly?
Look, do you know what? Publicly, not public. Everything about his life is public, whether he wants it to be or not. How can you be that famous? It must be horrendous to be that famous. It must be great in one way, but also...
as soon as he goes out, it's mobbed, isn't it? You know what I mean?
And for me, has he ever really let any other thing ever get in his way of what he's doing? The dedication that man has had to try and be the best and to keep doing it is... I look at Roy Keane and I see the frustration because I don't believe Roy can really say it how it is. You know, Gary Neville had a go at him the other day and Roy wanted to kill him because Roy respects him that much. And anyone who gets Roy's respect that much must be absolutely at it all day long. So let him go. No player, it's a written rule, no player who doesn't want to be at your club should ever be allowed to still be there. And us managers know that. So whether Mr. Ten Hag actually played it or the board did it, if it's the board, stay out of business because let your manager tell you who he wants. Honestly. It's quite simple, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Now that means no one's going to give me another job, Sam, but who cares? Because it's the truth, isn't it? And hopefully they can't sue me. But what I'm trying to say, stay out of the manager's business.
In the 24 hours that Manchester United release or whatever's happened with Cristiano, the mutual decision for him to leave, Manchester City have announced that Pep Guardiola has extended his contract again. So he's going to be at the club until 2025, which is 9 years, Sam. So I'm made up.
Well, he's never... I don't know if he stayed that long as manager at Barcelona, did he? I think he was 7, was it? I think before he moved on. But I'll tell you this, I listened to his interview before it came out, like you mean, and it's a little bit like what I was just saying. He's saying, it's not me, it's the club, it's the chairman and everybody above that will carry on this club when I've left, in the same way as I have, and the same way that Roberto did before him, and so... Mancini. So he said it happened before him, and he's coming, and he's taking it on from there. And he said,
but that's
when I
being
leave,
really
Man
humble,
City will be.
You know, he is really humble.
Of course he will.
Honestly,
it'd be hard to replace him, won't it?
Oh my goodness me!
Yeah.
You know, and let's say we've been fantastic. We've had a wonderful life, Sam and I. You know, but we managed to see probably the greatest manager I've ever seen in Sir Alec.
Yeah.
Build 4 teams at one club and over and over. And not only he had this drive to catch Liverpool and make Busby's Babes great again. And wow, he almost drove it. It was quite incredible. But I am now seeing another absolute genius. And I think the fella is changing the game. You know, everybody's trying to play this almost the same way, which I think's terrible. What you don't realise, it's not all about his tippy tappy football, and that's what we're here talking about. When they haven't got the ball, they strangle you. Yeah. And he coaches that, and he laughs and thinks, you know, that's great, but they dominate it and strangle. And in the end, you're thinking, hang on, who's hitting me here? What's happened? And the bloke's a genius, and you can try and copy it, but if you don't know the main things, which is win the ball back as quickly as you can, correct. And by the way, you're working as hard as him, and if you're not going to do it, I'm not having you. Do you know what I mean? And if you can't do what I'm asking, I mean, what I thought was brilliant, he realised that England was slightly different. You know, goalie, if he does get caught, he needs to be able to kick it a country mile, so he changed his goalie almost immediately.
Buys the best goalie you can.
Best player out, and he can
pass just as well as his teammates, can he?
He can be a midfielder.
Yeah. He's the best long passer at Man City. He by a million miles. Yeah. The best long passer, unbelievable.
Well,
Great news. It's great news for Man City and the fans. It's not great news for Manchester United.
Yeah, terrible news for everybody else. Look at you, lad.
I have a huge smile, not just because I'm with you both today, but because of that Pep news. But of course, we are in the first week of the World Cup, so we'll get back onto that now. And we are in between England's first 2 games. So they have opened the tournament by beating Iran 6-2. First of all, I want to start talking about Harry Maguire, Sam, because we talked about him a lot in the first couple of episodes. What did you make of his performance? Do you think he has silenced some of the critics that wondered why he was going, or not?
Straight away, without a doubt. It leaves Harry in a great dilemma when he comes back, because if he's not going to pick him, he needs to leave, because he's gone out, and I know it's people say, well, it was only Iran, but it was a big moment for him, and everybody was looking at him, and he handled it brilliantly. Sadly, he came off with don't quite know what, feeling a bit sick or a bit dizzy, but certainly proven by everybody in the press trying to pressurise Gareth not to play him, because it's the press, social media that have tagged on to this Harry Maguire done by Ten Hag leaving him out. That's escalated into Harry Maguire's no good anymore. He's not good enough to play for Manchester United. He's not good enough to play for England. That's nonsense.
Do you know what I loved yesterday? Right, Teddy Sheringham was talking on TalkSport, and he said, maybe his coach ain't very good if Harry can play that well. Maybe the Man United coach ain't very good if he decides not to play him.
That's good.
Well done, Teddy. Do you know what I mean? But how difficult is it getting an £85 million transfer, and then everybody sort of sits there and judges you? I thought he's been terrific for England. And if Gareth wants to trust him, then we trust Gareth.
Correct.
Happy days. Honestly, it don't. People, we could all, and we'll all have a go at picking the team. But Gareth trains them. He's with them. He's on them, and I love what he's doing. Honestly, to get a centre forward to square it, and make a definite goal when it was a risk in Mr. Wilson. Well done, mate. We needed that at a time. Fantastic.
The team spirit does seem incredible. It really does seem like they've got it in the camp. What's
incredible is how we turned on the ones who missed the penalties.
Yes, I mean...
That's wrong, and Rashford came on. Well done, son. Stick that in the back of the net. Brilliant goal.
Saka.
And Saka, too. And I said, he ain't done anything in an England shirt, but Gareth believes he's going to. So give the kid a chance to do it. Unfortunately, the other one didn't get picked this time because he wasn't playing that well at Man United, Sancho. He didn't come this time in. And well done. If that's how you see it, Gareth, leave him out.
We've got a wealth of talent, though.
But what I believe...
Grealish,
He's bringing them in, though. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
Even Bellingham, it's fantastic what he's doing. And well done, Gareth. And that's brave. You know it yourself, mate. It's so difficult to... when you know you have to win, and without the crowd behind you, that's what we did have. We had the crowd behind us, and now we all got carried away because of stupid friendly games. I mean, the Hungary
National League was a waste of time.
Absolute waste of time.
All last summer, I said he shouldn't even bother with this. I said it down in London at our last gig. He should have picked a lot of young players, brought them together, but he'd have had a lot of problems, probably with the FA and probably
they wouldn't have
the
allowed
press.
him to say it. I'll be honest.
I
could say it. Sam's on every week. They wouldn't have allowed him to say it.
Right.
I would have said, you know what, absolute nonsense competition.
Correct.
Right? I'm going to use these because we are having to play a major competition at a terrible time that we should have never been allowed to, but we're going to.
In the middle of our
season. Harry Kane, I need to try and protect, so he ain't going to play. I'm not going to play all my experience. Give these young ones a chance, but don't judge me on it. And all of a sudden, what do? We all get, oh, you're useless, Gareth. We would have won it without... it's terrible. I'm fuming. In Gareth, we trust, and it's as simple as that. We might be good enough to win it, I don't understand. How is he doing a bad job? I can't see it.
He's never done a bad job, has he?
No, but a lot of our England fans. Yeah, I was listening. Some fellow, give it to Serena Bigman, but she could do better with this group of players than Gareth. He's not doing well with them. Are you serious, mate? I would have just shook him upside down, threw him in the blooming river. Get lost. What are you talking about? Seriously, what is wrong with us?
No, well,
baby steps towards.
I think they put all those fears behind a lot of the supporters, and the supporters will get behind the team, and I think that everybody's talking about that it's when we get through the group that who are we going to face, of course, and it doesn't matter who we're going to face. If we're going to be good enough, we're going to have to beat them then.
Exactly.
Yep.
Whether we get them there or later on, perhaps we haven't quite done that yet.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't beat Belgium in the World Cup when they were at their prime.
Yeah.
We couldn't beat Croatia.
Yeah.
Italy,
I think that was
Italy.
then. This is now.
Italy.
That was then.
Yeah,
This
but
is
Italy, we couldn't beat Italy, and they haven't even qualified for the World Cup this time. So that's the only, and that's why I'm saying this mature squad and the mature staff should be good enough, and the quality of the squad, and the strength and depth of the squad, all of it's there. I think more than anybody else.
I think you need a touch of luck as well, and we haven't always had that. And I think, I'd probably leave out Harry Kane today to make sure it looked a bit of a wobbly ankle again, and I hope you know what I mean. But I think Callum Wilson's in a great vein of form.
Well, we'll find out. We'll get onto your teams for the USA
sorry,
game.
have I jumped into
You're
you?
all right. You're all right. You say whatever you want.
Sorry, mate.
Before then, though, there is a bit of downtime, obviously. Next game, a few days away yet. What does Gareth do in terms of the hotel, in terms of the time between now and then with the camp, where they are, to keep them motivated, to keep them focused? What do you think he's doing, or what would you guys be doing?
Well, I'd get Rob Beckett in.
The comedian?
Yeah. Somebody like that, I'd get say, like, can you come in? Yeah. Get the lads, do an hour. Because he's a big England fan, isn't he? Massive England fan. You can see him eating, sat on the floor with Kentucky Fried Chicken
and a bucket hat on.
And a bucket hat.
Yeah.
So he'd love to go in and like he'd be very nervous probably doing it, but he could go and I've watched him live. He's really, really funny. So that's something like that.
Yeah.
Is passes an hour and a half by, go to bed and forget about the next game, worry about that, the day before.
What people don't realise, the most important thing, I've never seen anyone do a brilliant job when they're hating what they're doing. So you have to enjoy what you're doing. And unfortunately in football, and even the best in the world, have negatives. Because you can win, you can draw, and you can lose. And these two are, you could have deserved to win, but you get a draw. You could have been luckily to get a draw, but you lost. So, at the end of the day, they're imposters. So what do you do when you get any of them? And if you can prove to the lads you're still believing and you're still doing well, and that ain't a bigger bump, we're going to learn from that and we're going to go again. That's what you want. And I remember, I'm sure I'm right, someone lost their first World Cup game and ended up winning the World Cup.
Spain.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, don't write off Argentina just because they lost their first game. It's all about peaking at the tournament. But for me, we needed a great start, and I felt we really got it.
Well, let's chat about Argentina. Because that was, they're saying perhaps, Sam, the biggest shock in World Cup history.
Oh, I wouldn't be so far off to say that. By the way.
Yeah,
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I watched this game and I admire the way the Saudis went out and tactically played the game, but they should have lost. And this is where luck comes in. Yeah. Argentina scored 3 more goals in the first half, and all 3 were offside, and that's luck. It's very rare that 3 goals, one after the other in the space of 20-25 minutes, would all be shouted offside.
I'm not having the shoulder one as well. I didn't like that.
That's unlucky for Argentina. That's really, really lucky for Saudi. And they took advantage of that slice of luck they got in the first half and thoroughly deserved to win. And at the other end, one absolutely superb save from the goalkeeper. And the quality of the finishing, again, won them again. They had 3 shots at goal, I think the stats said. And 2 goals they scored, and you can't beat that sort of record if you're going to win a game of football.
I watched Mbappe stop the fella and then go, and I
change of
wow,
pace.
I had to watch it again, and I just loved every minute of it.
So you mentioned Mbappe, and indeed England might end up meeting France, depending on how it lies. But if it goes the way we are hoping it will go, England are going to meet France in the quarterfinals. Should they get there as well? Not jinxing
this is all big
anything.
ifs, isn't
big
it?
ifs, big ifs, big ifs.
If my auntie had something else, she'd be my uncle. So what I'm saying, I don't know if I can say that in my gut. What I'm saying, it's all big ifs, but I was a little bit frightened of their composure last night.
Yeah.
They didn't flap, and obviously their manager has won it himself, and he's won it as a manager, and
that's the best coach in the World Cup.
And I thought
champ.
the shape they
by
had,
far.
yeah, I thought the shape they held and the way they kept doing it, because Australia played really well, and in the end they were strangulated out of the game. It was like, oh dear, you know. So, but I just hope that we press and close and don't let someone get rhythm, you know. I think we're fast enough. We could do that. We got to make sure that we win the ball back a little bit earlier sometimes, because if you do that, I think you look really, really dangerous.
Well, let's take a look then at what we think the team will be when England take on USA. We had a chat before we came on. I think there's two positions that that you both might be sort of differing in. If we look at the defence, so we mentioned Harry Maguire went off in the game. Would you play him, Sam, or would you bring in someone else for this game?
I think if Gareth, if he says to Gareth he's 100% fit, Gareth's going to play him because he needs the games.
Play him again.
Because he's hardly playing for Man United. So all these other lads who've come fatigued, who've played too many games, this is the opposite. He's gained a huge amount of confidence from the Iran game. So I'd say, look him in the eye. This is me. Are you 100% fit? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Okay.
And trust him again.
And trust him. Okay. And I think he could play him because the more he plays him, the more confidence he's going to gain, and the better match fitness he's going to acquire through it. Like
the better understanding you're going to develop again.
So he's keeping him and Stonesy together. That's a must. So, and then obviously at the top end, personally, this is only my personal point of view. If he's 95% fit, I wouldn't play him.
Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So he's going for a scan at this point. So we don't know. Hopefully people might know there's some good scan news when they listen to this. But as it stands, we don't know.
There's swelling.
Right.
I'm telling you, you don't take him for a scan if there's no swelling or there's no pain. And it was you could see.
I used to call it the Dallas Star. You don't want the Dallas Star swelling. Oh, come on! If there's any, if you've got a Dallas Star, you got didn't it? If there's a Dallas Star, you get rid of it, and no, never any injection. But Harry, I'd wrap him up in cotton wool, honestly, because
you wouldn't play him next game.
If there's anything at all, like if he even goes, oh, I'm not sure about that, leave him out, let him rest.
You see, I don't think he should have stayed on. And that would have been him insisting on that. And of course, you have to go with it because he said he's all right. But if you damage that ankle in that tackle, and that's where that's happened, obviously, because you could see it getting trapped under his foot. Well, the minute you play on from there, it bleeds more.
Yeah, exactly.
It bleeds and bleeds and bleeds, and then so by the time you've come off and you get back and you ice it up, you'll end up going like
You've got your Sue Ellen.
You've got the Sue Ellen, Dallas Star.
So that's probably why they're sending him for the scan. But I wouldn't risk. He's your captain. He's very difficult to talk to him and say, but I am the manager.
I got a problem with this.
You're not
This has always happened to England. Our centre forwards have become so good that we can't take them off. Mr. Lineker loved him to bits. Mr. Shearer, hang on a minute, just do your job. I don't want to rely on Harry Kane all the time. Get someone else in there and maybe leave him out every. I know he's a brilliant player, but we have to move past, like we did the same with Wayne Rooney. And when Wayne didn't play that well in the World Cup, we didn't do very well. So let's share out that responsibility.
Who are you giving it to?
Callum Wilson for me.
Give it to Callum Wilson, a bloke who's banging form.
Banging form.
Yep.
Laid on a goal. Looked absolutely delighted with his interview after.
Honestly.
Smiling at, and
what he's been through.
What he's been through, yeah.
And the injuries he's had, he should have been finished. Yeah. Well done to him. It's a joy to see it.
He'd have been starting this season thinking, "There's no way I'm going to the World Cup."
Oh, but look at him.
What did you make of his? What did you make of his assist to Grealish?
Oh, great. There's one or two players that played wouldn't have done that.
One or two.
Yeah.
I know about 1,000 who wouldn't have squared it. You know what I mean? Jason Roberts, Jamie Curran, Gary Pett, all the centre forwards I've ever had, they would have never squared that. But well done to him. Do you know what I mean? And I like his pace. He has got blistering pace, and you need that in some games, don't you?
And then there's a nice story after it with the Jack Grealish.
Oh, this celebration with Finlay.
With Finlay, you know what I mean? I mean, remembering it.
Yeah.
The joy of scoring a goal, like, and actually remembering that, like, I mean, he's one character, him, Jack.
Jack Grealish is a genuinely lovely man.
What a character.
I think he's had horrendous press. He's a good guy. Right.
He got a set of curtains on board. I'm a bit jealous of his curtains. If I had hair, I wouldn't have it like that, though, Sam.
So we're playing Maguire. If he's 100% fit, we're playing him.
And he needs the games.
What if Kyle Walker is fit? Are you keeping Trippier in, or are you bringing Kyle Walker? Because I've seen him running in training videos.
I would suggest, again, he got his foot stamped on.
Yeah.
Those stupid boots they wear these days, they don't give you any protection whatsoever.
That's true.
So he had his foot stamped on, and if he's not fit, Kyle Walker. But I wouldn't risk any.
I would
one
only
of
change the team on the fact that that there's any niggles or any illness, that they're out and somebody replaces them.
Okay.
And if we get through this and we win this one comfortably, then a lot of the changes can come in the final game.
But now I want us to put on a bet. I want you to predict 2 things that are going to happen in the game. So you can do scorer, you could do someone that's going to get a yellow card, but 2 things that are going to happen in the game, Sam.
Clean sheet and Saka to score.
Ooh, I like this. Okay, clean sheet, Saka to score. Ian, what are you thinking?
My prediction is Foden to score.
We didn't even put him in our team. Are you thinking coming off the bench?
I've just out the whole game. I think he'll get on in some way or form, and I think he'll score.
Yes.
And I think we'll win 4-0.
4-0 Foden to
England 4, USA 0.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, as I expected it would be. Thank you for coming all the way up here to join us.
Absolutely lovely.
We do appreciate it because you had a very long journey.
Thanks, Sam. Big man.
Thank you, Sam.
Again.
My friend Lucy's so jealous right now, getting a handshake off Sam Allardyce and Ian Holloway. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us on another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. We will be back before the Wales game when we are joined by Robbie Savage.